welcome to week 8, which is midterm week. I've got 2 or 3 things lined up. This is one of the few times that we're going to be inside because it makes it easier to see and talk about things about scoring. We'll do this one other time later on when we do the tiebreaker information because it's really hard to maneuver, to take, to try to get everybody in the right place. So we're going to use the ping pong table as a tennis court. And you can see that we've got the markings on it. This is no man's land in the back. Here's the baseline all the way at the back. Here's the center service mark, which matches on the other side. And here is the division for the 2 service boxes. So you've got that all done. One thing that I can't do when I get ready to give you a test, one of the first tests that I always give, or quizzes I always give, has to do with markings on the court. And I need for you to be able to name them. Now, there will be some leading questions on that during the midterm, and this is what it would look like if I actually gave it out to you. But it would say things like, where do you always start serving from? And we've talked about this. You always start serving from the right side, and it's the right side of the center service mark. And you serve from the right service box to the right service box. So I would serve from this side, behind the baseline, to the right of the center service mark, and it would have to land into this right service box. And if you remember correctly when we talked about this, I said the right box is from where I'm looking. So I'm the receiver, server's on the other side. The serving always starts off on the right side, and it comes to the right side for the person to return. So as the receiver or the person returning, this is where I'm going to line up. We also said that if someone serves just a reasonable serve, that you'll probably stand in no man's land to return it. Which, as we also said, that if someone serves really big or deep, you could stand behind the baseline, and that gives you a little bit more room to return the ball. So you've got kind of things going on. Second serve will always be from left to left. So I'm going to go back around just to show you where I would be standing if I was serving from the left side, which will be here, to the left side of the center service mark. And then I'm going to serve from this area to the left service box. So I know I keep going over those, but what we did in week 7, I want you to go back and review. So it's still in shared files. Week 7 is still in shared files. And week 7 talked about return of serves. And that's when John and Tim were playing for us. And we got to see the serves and the returns. The week before that was just serves when Daryl came with us. And Daryl just talks about serves and he played serves. This time we put 2 people together. They actually were playing points, did a rally. We actually talked about scoring. But we were mostly concerned at that time in seeing how someone served and seeing how someone returned. And I also mentioned at the time, it doesn't matter whether you serve or return, you can get points. Some games you can only be the server, for instance, racquetball. In racquetball, you can only be the server. In tennis or ping pong, you can be the receiver or the server to get points. Now remember also the rule is the server always calls their score first. So that means 2 things. The server is always going to start from the right side, and they're always going to call their serve first, whether they are ahead or behind. Okay, so keep that in mind, and you will go back and review that you will notice that when Tim and John were playing, not only did they call it out, but then I re-emphasized it. And I also went back and compared regular scoring, which is 15, 30, 40, deuce, advantage in, advantage out game. I also compared that with no ad scoring, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 points. Whoever gets 4 points first wins the game. If again you go back in your shared files, you will see that I have some scoring information, some etiquette information, and some tiebreaker information. So the scoring information is going to be used for the midterm test and part of the final. The etiquette information will be used in week 10 for the do's and don'ts of tennis. We'll review that one later. The tiebreaker information will go the week before that we do the final test, because the tiebreaker information is a little bit more difficult, and it's after you've learned how to play singles, doubles, games, and then you get ready to go into sets and matches. That's when you really do need the tiebreaker information. So again, this is what I would do. I would hand this out, and it would have diagrams on it. It would tell you for you to name the areas of the court, so you're always knowing those areas. So when I point to where to go or why shots are, then you'll know where they are. It's true and false, and it's multiple choice. So again, identifying the lines. You can't tell me what they're on the test, but you can identify them on the court. The back line on both sides is called the baseline. The mark between it, which is called the center service mark, divides the right side from the left, the right service box from the left, serving from the right to the left, and it's on both sides. We're playing singles, so this is the singles sideline. There's no alleys on this court. We'll do that later on when we play doubles. We'll talk about our alleys. Today there are no alleys on our court, just singles. Then you have the two service boxes on this side, two service boxes on the other. Now, one of the things I always ask you is what borders or boundaries go around the service boxes. Well, here's the net, here's the center service line, here's the back of the service line or the back of the service court, and here is the single sidelines. So those are the four areas that are the boundaries or bounder the service court. No man's land has nothing to do with it. Doubles line, which is over here, has nothing to do with it. Baseline has nothing to do with it, nor does center service mark have anything to do with it. So you need to be within this court parameter. Right side or left side, you need to be in this parameter. And remember, if the ball touches any part of the center service line, it would be a good serve for the right side or the left. So if I'm serving from right to right, right to right, and it lands on this center service mark, then it's a good serve. If it lands on the other side, which is the left box, it does not count. It has to go from right to right. But any line it lands on, the center service mark up here, the back of the center of the court, or the edge of the sidelines, which would have to be the single sideline. It can't be behind that. Anything behind is called long. Anything to the side is called wide. Anything out of the court itself, the baseline, is called long. And those are all out calls. Sometimes you'll see someone do this, and that makes it an out call. All of that has to do with scoring. All of that is what we're looking at for scoring. So some of the questions that ask right here. The serve return may be hit by the receiver before the first bounce. Okay, now remember one of the rules is when I get ready to serve, this is my make-believe tennis racket. This is my make-believe tennis ball right here. When I serve, I have to stand to the right of the center service mark. So here I am. I stand at an angle so I can hit to the box. I'm looking at the box I want to serve in, and I have to hit it in the air. Now, ping pong, it can bounce first, but in tennis, it has to bounce in the air. So here I am in the air, bouncing, it goes into that box over there. Now the question asks, can the person returning hit that ball before it bounces? He could, but it's illegal. He will lose the point because remember, it has to bounce in the box to be a legal serve. So that's one of the rules we talked about. He has to let it bounce, he or she, that it goes to. It has to be in the box. But if he hits it or the serve hits him, he doesn't get out of the way and it hits him, it's a long serve, he will lose that point. The server will have that point. So that's one of the questions it asks right there. That's a true or false question. So on that particular one, that would be false because they have to let it bounce. The server may hit it. No, they can't hit it. Then it goes back and says the server or the receiver, I've already told you that. Either one of you can score. Okay, let's talk about the different places. We said that if you know the score, then you'll know where to stand. If you know where to stand, then you can limit where the scoring might be. So we always start off on the right side. That's where scoring starts off. So it would be 0, 0 or love, love. Remember, love equals 0. Love means no points have been played. So as the server, when I start off serving, I'm going to say love, love or 0, 0. I could say either one of those, and that's an even score that starts off the game. Once that first point has been played, I'm automatically going to move to the left side and serve from left to left. 1 point has been played. So the terminology for 1 point is love, is 15. So 1 point's been played, 15. And if I won that point, I say 15 love. If Shane has won that point, I say love 15, because then Shane has the point. 1 is odd, so I know that I'm already going to be on the left side. Even numbers, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8 points have been played, are going to be on the right side. Odd is going to be on the left side. 1 point's been played, 3 points, 5 points, etc. So a lot of questions will ask that. For instance, one of the questions could say, I am serving. We already know if I am serving, then my score is going to be called first. I'm going to be serving, say I'm serving over to Shane, and I say that the score is add out. Add out, which is the same as advantage out. Add out is advantage out. Okay? So, does that sound like it's going to be an even or odd score? Well, it's going to be an odd score because advantage out means the person I'm serving to has an extra point. They're 1 point ahead of me. If I said advantage in, that means the person that's the server, they have the extra point of advantage. Anything that's deuce is going to be even because the scores are even, so they'll be from the right. So I just said by saying advantage out, that tells me automatically Shane is 1 point ahead of me, and automatically it's an odd score, so I'm going to be serving from the left. Okay, another thing that it tells you that if we're playing along and I think it's 1540, okay, I'm the server, I call my score first, 1540. 15 means 1 point, 40 means 3. 1 and 3 equals 4. That gives me 4 points have been played, so it tells me it's an even score, so it tells me that I'm going to be on the right side. Okay, what if Shane agrees and Shane says, yes, you're supposed to be serving from the right side, but I don't think the score is 1540, I think it's 40-15. I go, wait a minute, that's not right. He said, no, it is. And I said, no, it's not. He says, no, it is. No, it's not. So we're arguing back and forth on the score, which is a huge difference. Because whoever has 40 just needs 1 more point, they're going to win the game. If you're ahead by 2 and you have at least 4 points, you're going to win the game. So whoever wins this next point afterwards could win the game. So the rule reads that if you cannot agree on the score, you have to go back to the last score you could agree on. The last score you could agree on. So the only score we can agree on is 15-15. Because we know we're on the right side, and it's even. 15-15, that's all we can agree on. So that means 2 points in there are just out. They're blown to the wind, they're out. They don't count because we could not come to an agreement. So see why it's very important to call the score at every point so you both know that you're on the same page, and so you won't be upset when you wind up in the wrong place or possibly lose the game because you didn't keep the score. Now there's nothing to say that if for some reason I just automatically assume when I go over here to serve that it's 15 love, I just won that first point. Well, if I don't say anything, Shane could have thought, oh, I guess the ball was out when she hit it, so therefore I didn't win the point. He may not realize that. So because I've not said anything, he actually thought he won the point. So that's why it's very, very important to clarify and make sure you keep track of the score. Now I know that sometimes if I'm playing somebody and I don't really hear them, or maybe they don't call the score, I will say, what is the score? Or I'll say the score is, as a question, is the score 15 love? And then they go, yes, it is 15 love. I'm sorry I said it, you didn't hear me. Or they say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say it. Or I thought you knew, something of that sort. No, we don't want to worry about that. We want to always keep out the score. Plus 2, I could have hit that ball over there, the one I just hit, that's my little ping pong ball that's over there, and we were rallying back and forth, and the next shot I hit did this, and Shane says, oh, I'm sorry, it was wide, and I thought, oh, no, it wasn't. I saw where it hit right there. Remember back to scoring and rules and regulations? It's Shane's call. I mean, I gotta hope that he's making a good call, but remember, I may not have been able to see it accurately. I may have been further over here and thought it hit the line, but Shane was right there by the line and he saw that it hit. So again, I want to make sure that we're on the same page. So I could say, so it was wide, and you said, yes, it was wide, so then we agree on the score. Again, the rule says if you cannot clearly call the ball out, which would be out, wide, long, etc., then you have to give that person the point. You can't just say, oh yeah, I think it was. So you have to be sure that you're making those good calls. So a lot of the questions on this true-false are going to be everything we just talked about. One of the scenarios also, we go back here and talk about areas in the court, so you need to know the boundaries. It also talks about things, for instance, it'll say, let's say 9. 9 points have been played in the game. 9 points. It doesn't say what they were, it just says 9 points. 9 points are played in the game. Okay, is 9 an even or odd number? It's an even, no, it's an odd. It's an odd number. 9 points is odd, okay? So then it also tells you 9 points have been played. Somebody, if they had 4 points, because that's the minimum you could have to win a game, the other person has to have 5, correct? Because that means the game's not over yet. If one person had 6 points and the other person had 3, the game's already over. Because somebody had a minimum of 4 and they were ahead by 2. Now, I'm not trying to make this confusing, but I'm just trying to tell you that a game could go on and on and on and on. It could go deuce, advantage in, deuce, advantage out, deuce, add in, deuce, add in. It could keep going back and back and back until someone wins 2 points in a row. So 9 points simply tells us that you're serving from the left because that's an odd score. And if they say advantage in, that means the server has 1 point ahead than the receiver or the person returning. So the rule about that is for scoring is, if the person who's 1 point ahead wins that second point, that next point, they're going to win the game. The game is over and they won it. But if the person who is ahead loses that point, they go from the left side or the add out side to deuce. They go back to deuce and they start again. You have to win 2 in a row to win. Once it's a deuce, you win this point, then the game is over. But if you only win just one part of it, then it's not over. So that's going to tell you the scoring. If the serve, one more time, remember you get 2 attempts to serve. 2 attempts. You can't toss your ball up and accidentally miss it and go, oh, that one didn't count, that was like a mulligan. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like in baseball. You don't get to check when you get ready to hit it. You know, it's like, oh, it's either a ball or a strike, that's all there is to it. You don't just get to do a do-over because it was a whiff. So that would count as an attempt, so now you're down to the second attempt. Okay? One of the things that we didn't show yet is that if it hits the tape, because it's not like we can do this on purpose, if I'm serving and it hits the net and falls into the service area, after it hits the net, even though it kind of makes it go wobbly, you do that again. But if it hits this tape and then it jumps over long or wide on a service box, it doesn't count. Or if it hits the tape and comes back on your side, you don't get to do that again. That's called a let. A let. You got a let because it hit the tape and went into the service box, you get that over again. If it starts at the very first, you get both of them again. If it happens on the second, you only get your second serve. If you miss a serve, it's called a fault. If you miss both of your serves, it's called a double fault, and you lose the point. The only other times that you get to replay a point would be if for some reason, they always use the same scenario, a dog walks across the court while you're playing. That never happens, but that's what they're trying to say. Something outside happens, out of your control, and then you get to start it all over again. Another person playing beside you, their ball rolls into your court. The safety aspect and the distraction, you get to start all over on that point. Regardless of the fact that maybe you had a service fault, you still get to start with the 2. So pursue rules further. The USTA information that I've got on there about scoring, look at some of that. I posted that really early. I think it was posted the first week of classes. Look at those tips and those scoring things from USTA, because those are specifics in there. Just like it talks about, if I reached over and touched the net when I was trying to get a ball, I lose it. If the ball hits me, I lose it. If I accidentally turn and some part of my clothes touched it, I lose it. There's a lot of instances. If I step on the line or over the line or on the center service mark, I lose that serve. So all those kind of things are in there under USTA. They're just endless. But those talk about scoring. And then the multiple choice will talk about terminology. Again, we said that, and I've got some information right here, we said that what happens is when you get ready to score, and we'll do scoring, we said that 0 points is love, 1 point is 15, 2 is 30, 3 is 40, then if you're tied, it's deuce, and then from there you go advantage in, advantage out. Parameters are, and it says that on there, for a game. Parameters are minimum of 4 points ahead by 2. That's the parameters of a game. So you go points, games, set, match. One more time. Points are played, then games, then sets, then a match. So 4 points minimum ahead by 2 to finish a game. Minimum of 6 games ahead by 2 to finish a set. 6 games ahead of 2 games finishes a set. I'm going to grab this right quick so then I can write this down again so you'll have it. So we could win a set by 6-0. We could win a set by 6-1. We could win a set by 6-2. We could win a set by 6-3. We could win a set by 6-4. Those are all accurate sets. We cannot win a set by 6-5 because we are not 2 games ahead. We can win a set by 7-5, but in between here, if we tied it and it was 6-6, then we would play a tiebreaker. And we're going to do that in a future unit. All you need to know now is this is when a tiebreaker occurs at 6-6. Not 4-4, 5-5, 3-3, but 6-6. So all these others, not counting this one, are accurate scores to win a set. To win a set. Remember that. Points, games, sets, then matches. So remember that continuation in there. Now obviously every time you play, you don't have to play for points or games. You could just play for fun. You could even play and not keep score. It doesn't matter. That's up to you how you want to play recreational tennis, league plays tennis, match play, all of that. That's up to you. And depending where you go, they may have rules or regulations where they shorten the games. That's why I have the no add information on there, where you just play 1, 2, 3, 4 points. This is a regular set. A pro set's completely different. A pro set is when someone says, okay, you're just going to play a total of 6 games. This is not a total of 6 games. This 7 games were played, 8 games were played, 9 games were played, 10 were played, 12 were played. That's not a pro set because you had to have at least 6 and ahead by 2. A pro set is when you just play only 8 games. That's it. Whoever at 8 games is ahead, that's who wins. So if I have 5, that person can only get 3. I'm going to win because I had 5 games. I'm ahead at 5-3. That's 8 games are played. If it's 4-4, we're tied. I won 4 games, the person I played won 4 games. So it's an 8 game, it could be a 6 game, an 8 game, it could be whatever somebody determined. That helps shorten the courts, meaning you got more people can play in less time is what you're looking at. Okay, so remember the parameters. Okay, now I'm going to ask another question here real quick. Shane and I are playing, and I turn in the score, and I say the score was 6-0. Okay, the server's score is always called out first. So I called mine out as the server and the winner, so that tells me I won 6 games, and poor Shane did not win any games, which was kind of tacky of me, but he didn't win any games. So when I give the score, and I give my score first, then that's saying that I won the match. Or, in this case, the set. That's what that's saying. Okay? So if I said the server, I was the server, here's my scores. Okay, now let's talk about what happens after we do sets. Okay? Professional, that's what we'll talk about first. After that, it's anybody's game. Professionals are technically 4 women, 2 out of 3. For men, 3 out of 5. So that means I have to win 2 of these sets to win my match in women's singles. Guys have to win 3 out of 5. So they'll have to play 1 more extra set than I do. Now, say for instance, right here, Shane won this first set 6-0. But say I won the next set, right here, 1-6. So we have what's called split. We've each won a set. Shane won the first one, I won the second one. We have to play a third set in order to determine who wins that set. We have all kinds of ways we can do it. We can play another whole set. We can play a short set. We can play a tiebreaker. We can do whatever we wanted to do, rules and regulations. But if we were big-time professional players, we would have to play another full set of 6. That's it. That's what we decided. Okay? So women's singles is 2 out of 3. Men's singles is 3 out of 5. So if I look at this right here, that these are the 3 sets right here. I look at this right here. Let's look at this score right here. This is the one we're going to look at right here. Shane won the first set 6 games to 0 games. I won the second set 6 games. He got 1. He won the third set 6 games to 2. That's what that would read as right there. He won the first one and the third one. I won the second one. So that's how that reads. So what you look for when you look for a completed match, you look for correct sets. You look like correct sets. And remember, correct sets cannot be this right here, 6-5. A lot of times I will see someone look at a set, and they'll look at this set right here, 5-1. Or they'll look at this set as a set 2-4, or they'll look at this as 3-3, or they'll look at it as 1-5 as a set. And the reason why they do that is they see that all of these total 6. 5 and 1 is 6, 2 and 4 is 6, 3 and 3 is 6, 1 and 5 is 6. So if they say, oh, 6 games were played, well, a person did not win 6 games. They played a total of 6, but nobody won 6. So right here, that would have to say 6-1. That would have to say 2-6. That would have to say 3-6 or 6-3. This would have to say 1-6 instead of 1-5. So it's not a total of 6 games. It's someone has to win 6 games and be ahead by 2. And right here, this exception of the 7-5, I'm ahead by 2 games, and I won 6. So I'm interested in women's correct completed sets for a match, and men's correct completed sets for a match. And women's are going to be 2 out of 3, men's are going to be 3 out of 5. So I have a list of sets, and you're going to tell me which one is a correct match. You'll tell me correct sets and correct matches, and you'll tell me who won which set as the server and who won which set by the receiver. And if you keep remembering how we call out score, you'll know how to do that. The server's score is always first. So if the server's score is ahead, then the server won. If the receiver's score is ahead, then the receiver won. So you need to be sure that you know that. Again, Shane and I are playing. I call out the game count, not the score, the game count. Once the games begin, then the first thing I do is call out the game count. Once we have played that first game, remember what happens? I was serving on this side. First game's over, and I said that I won the first game. We change sides. I go all the way over to here. Shane goes over to the other side. The first game has been played, and he serves to me from the right side, and he says 0 or love 1. That tells me automatically he hasn't won any games yet, and I won the first game. So then he serves until that game is finished, and if he wins that game, it's now 1 game to 1 game. It's an even number of games. And we stay, and I serve from here to that side. And I will say the first thing I will say 1 to 1, which is 1 game to 1 game, and then I'll start talking about points. 15 points, 30 points, 30-15, 30-30, 40-30, do 40-40, then add in, which means I have 1 point ahead, deuce again, add in, and then I finally win it the second time, which is now game. So now I won 2 games. Shane has still got his 1 game. It's odd. We just played 3 games. We switch again, because we always switch on odd number of games. And then I start serving. I don't start serving again, sorry. It's time for Shane to serve, because I served, then he served, then I served, he served. So we keep going back and forth. Once we get it started, we change after first, third, fifth as we switch around. So that's how we start off, and that's how we keep track of our games. So all of that is either going to be true, false, or multiple choice. You're going to get choices A, B, C, D of which fits in there. So go back to points, games, sets, matches. Go back to parameters. Minimum 4 points ahead by 2. A minimum of 6 games minimum ahead by 2. 2 out of 3 for women, 3 out of 5 for men on correct. Tiebreakers come in at 6-6, and we're not worried about the tiebreaker right now. You have 1 attempt on your midterm test. It is 25 questions, and you have 30 minutes to take it. So be sure that you look at previous before. This is all the information that's going in there. Previous before, you look at the scoring, you look at all the scoring information, all that information you want about that. You look at the previous week, which talks about week 7 on return of serve, which also practices that, and get all that in there. If you have any questions on anything, you email me, get in contact with me, let me know. Again, you have the whole week to take it, but once you go in, that's it before you have to submit it. The midterm and the finals are the most points. The midterm is 50. Then you have 2 quizzes in there, and then you'll have the final. And the quizzes are spread apart. Again, like I said, the next one after that will be the do's and don'ts. Then there'll be a tiebreaker, and then we will have the final test during final exam week. And I will review just like I did just now. I hope that if you have questions, you'll contact me, obviously, before you need it. Thank you very much. This is for the end of midterm week, and we'll be starting back with singles, men's and women's doubles, mixed doubles, put all those in there, and then league information after this and a lot of play. Thank you very much.